Good morning. I'm Mark Allen with Gaper, and I'm here this morning with Candice Dietz, the founder and CEO of GiveSpace. Wow. Monday morning, having a hard time talking today. How you doing this morning, Candice?
I'm great, Mark. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm excited to be here with you.
Well, thank you for joining us today. So to start with, can you share a brief background of yourself and your work experience?
Sure. So I am Candice Dietz. I like to call myself a believer in human goodness. I'm a mom of two, also a military spouse, and professionally, I'm a founder and CEO at GiveSpace. And my professional and personal career has been anything but traditional, but I really believe that that has only been a benefit to me. I'm a second-time entrepreneur, and my professional background is a combination of nonprofit work, communications and marketing, and work as an events professional. GiveSpace started with an idea and belief of turning something simple into something better. So here we are.
Wow, that's quite interesting. So what has been your experience with remote employment, both as a remote employee and as an employer?
So due to the amount of moving we have done, I was ahead of the curve in working with remote teams for a solid, I think this is my 7th or 8th year, both in that space. So prior to GiveSpace, I was also co-founder at Alexander and Sophia, which is a children's apparel-based brand in e-commerce. So that was really intensive with a lot of our team in production, and since it was product-based. And, early on, you learn that remote work does take a lot of self-motivation and a lot of discipline. And communication is key when working with a team, and balance is the other. So especially now with everything going on and all the demands, I think communicating on your battle rhythm, whether it's once a day check-ins or weekly team meetings, or keeping that open line of communication is key, but also striking it with balance and trust.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I know it's 6:30 in the morning where you are. Where is the rest of your team? I assume they're in a different time zone.
They are. So we have teams on the West Coast. Our team members are on the West Coast and on the East Coast. So it's when in Hawaii, you're 3 hours behind. So you have to juggle that 6-hour time lapse. And then we have the extension of our team also is in parts of Southeast Asia. So it's a lot of juggling and making sure you really do have the time to connect. At least we try to do it at least twice a week to make sure we're all on the same page and that we have our goals laid out to accomplish for the week. And they're pretty specific. And then also broad term goals too, right? Incorporating kind of your what's happening in our personal lives as well, and making sure that we're always empathetic to everyone's situation as well.
Mm-hmm. So what has been your takeaway and your general feeling about this remote work? Since you've been doing it for a long time, so you must, I assume, enjoy it.
I do. I think sometimes we have to take personalities into consideration. So, some people really thrive on having the independence of being in a remote capacity, where they really thrive on having that, controlling their schedule and being able to flip the switch on and off between work and personal life. Others really miss being in a team setting in the office. So, or having people to interact with and connect with. And so I think for those, we try to incorporate more remote virtual meetings on Zoom, or to have those. I always make sure that we do face-to-face calls with those members of our team who really thrive on that human experience.
Yes. And did you have an office before the pandemic hit?
Not for GiveSpace, because we really launched this right as COVID was also making its presence into our lives.
Mm-hmm.
So, but with Alexander and Sophia, we did. And so that for our production team members, that was part of our, they had the chance to interact with their teammates all the time around them.
Very interesting. So what do you think is the future of remote employment, and what do you think can be done differently to make it more effective?
We're seeing so much innovation come out of that space right now. It's from mentoring programs to on-demand remote team hiring. I think it's great for productivity and ease to access of qualified and vetted employees or teams. I read recently that PricewaterhouseCoopers conducted a survey of CEOs on remote work, and 78% of those surveyed said that remote work is now here to stay, and only 28% believe that it was only a temporary shift. And I think this pandemic is really exposing a lot of gaps in our society. So for the future of remote work to really be successful, I think it's not a one size solution fits all, right? So I touched on this before, maybe the personalities and desires to fulfill certain roles in the organization to be remote, but also offering just a opportunity for more of the extroverted, I guess, employees that may be more satisfied with having a physical space than others around them. I think it's important to consider that too. So so we ask ourselves this all the time at GiveSpace, as we are looking at our expansion and growth, will it be worth it to create a small pod so it offers options where team members can gather in the future? Or does that, or do we have just remote teams now in a more diverse workforce and have a fully remote workforce? So it's a lot to consider. And I think considering all the different other demands of our outside of work is beneficial too. So it's important to not only, know the objectives and team goals, but also making sure that the career goals of the team are met and they're fulfilled as well. So that's always a balance, and it's something we are, questioning and learning and trying to figure out where this is going to go as well. So, but I'm a full believer in remote work, right? I love it. For me, this is a great fit.
Yeah. And me too. I've been doing it for over 10 years, so I would agree with you on that. When I first moved here, I was commuting into the city, and I was losing 2 hours a day. It is just for what?
Right.
And it really does depend upon what you do for a living. I'm more technical, so it's a little bit easier. I understand other people, they do need to have a place to come in. But I think I've talked to lots of CEOs, and they're all struggling with this. I shouldn't say struggling. They're all finding their way through this. Each company really has their own way of handling this.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I would
GiveSpace.
agree.
Yeah, GiveSpace. So what do you do? Who's your target audience? All those things.
Sure. So GiveSpace was birthed kind of from, we've all been there, I think, and many of us could relate to this scenario where I would attend a conference, or my partner would attend a conference, and we'd come home with plastic bags just filled with stuff. And I thought, there's got to be a better way to do this. And instead of, let's find a solution where we can do something better with those dollars that are spent on those products. So GiveSpace was birthed with the goal of giving companies and their communities an easy way to give charitably while maintaining its marketing goals. So we are, instead of taking a $5 notepad and pen set, why not allow that target audience member to contribute that $5 to a charity of their choice.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what GiveSpace does. We are offering a digital alternative to promotional products, also known as swag,
Mm-hmm.
as a way of doing better and reaching your marketing goals.
And who has the choice? Is it the marketer, or is it the person receiving the swag?
The marketer has the overall choice to launch a campaign for this, and they select up to 1 to 5 charities that align with their branding and their company, and then the actual attendees, let's say of a virtual event or an in-person conference, has the actual say in where that budgeted amount would go. So each person would get a certain budget. Let's say $5 or $10 is what the company has, determined, and then that person would actually designate, okay, I want my $10 to go to X charity.
That's actually a great idea. And then you use the word swag, and I've heard different versions of what that stands for. What do you think it stands for?
Oh, for us, swag is just a product that is given to or given out with a brand on it that.
Okay, so you didn't. I mean, I've heard of it stood for "suck up with a gift," but
that's great.
I don't know. I've heard a couple others. That's the one that seemed to make the most sense of all the ones I've heard. So,
I mean, that's a great. I may use that now. And
there you go.
There you go. Thank
so it's
you.
worth getting up at 6 a.m. in the morning now.
Right.
So with GiveSpace, it sounds like you started remote. So how did you? I mean, most companies they start with an office. How did you start up? A totally remote company?
It is a lot of connections and networking. So I think when you're first launching a startup, that's one of the things you really rely on. Is it's difficult as it is, but it's even more challenging, as you mentioned, to do this in a fully remote capacity, and really leaning on those that you have established relationships with, and reaching out to their networks to first find that core team has been really essential for us.
Mm-hmm. And I'm assuming you reached out to your prior companies for some of your employees. Is that true?
Yes.
And
yes.
And how about customers? Because you're in a really kind of a different field now. Were you able to get some customers from your previous?
It's funny because it both connects into marketing. A lot of this is branding and marketing, right? Which is my co-founder also is in the marketing space, and that's kind of her specialty. And so between our experiences, and I have the nonprofit experience, we've been really able to, reach out and connect all of the dots, and the flow has been incredible. And we've already got, it really has been. I think with the current shift in a post-COVID world too, I think the need for something like GiveSpace, we're seeing trends in consumers wanting brands that align with organizations or businesses that really tie in with their beliefs too, right? So we're seeing a lot of that behavioral change in a post-COVID world. Forbes just did a recent article and study on this, and Deloitte did a CMO survey, and Duke University's business school. So this is all new data that's coming in, and I really do believe that the marketing strategies of all of these top brands, they're going to have to make a big shift, because consumers are wanting, they want to be aligned with a brand that really connects with their beliefs, and they want to do social good.
Yes. And I also think that's part of this newer generation. The 20 to 30-year-olds are much more what's the, I would, conscience of doing good. Would you agree?
I do. I think that's a great assessment. And I think we're going to see more and more of this conversation, as we get more data and seeing the shifts, and we can, this is just in the early phases, right? So I think a lot more innovation is, coming in this space.
Yes, I would agree. And so did you start your company after the pandemic, after the stay in place, or did you start it before? I mean, is it was like,
It was almost, so we had the idea for a couple of years now, but actually launching and accelerating the growth for it, and shifting to a full-time, for me, making this my, full-time focus really happened as the pandemic was, really catching fire. So I remember, as we were just being issued in Washington, our stay-at-home orders, is when I was putting together our pitch decks. So it kind of happened simultaneously.
wow. So did that cause any challenges or roadblocks that you didn't expect?
At first, it was a lot of, we weren't sure what was going to happen with the startup entrepreneurial space. And I think everything kind of went on a hold for a while, in terms of what to expect, and if we'd be able to raise or go out and start pitching, or for customers and for investors, right? On both sides, we weren't sure how that budgeting worked for companies and on the investment side. So I did feel about 2 months of kind of a lull of, oh, where's this going? No one's really sure. We're going to hold off at least to see. And then we started I think it's a really great time to be an entrepreneur right now. When things like this happen, it's a great time to plan, right? And it's a great time for new ideas to come forth. So as much as, there's so much uncertainty, there's also opportunity as well.
Yeah. And actually, when you think about it, the change you're making, a lot of big companies had marketing budgets for swag.
Yes.
Giving them out at conferences and all these things where people got together, and that just dried up. So I'm assuming they're looking for new ways to reach out to people. So you might have,
right.
If the timing actually might be perfect for you.
Yeah.
And I hope it is.
Yes, thank you so much. Yeah, we are too. So as we are launching our MVP this month, and we've got a good number of beta trials already signed up. So we're really excited to see the growth and expansion of GiveSpace.
That is, and I really hope it does well. So
thank you, Mark.
You're welcome. So the final question is there's companies like Gaper that help develop, build, and scale products. You're a true startup. I mean, you're literally 5 months old, right?
Yes, we are a true startup.
Yes. Go ahead.
No, I looked, companies like Gaper are an extremely valuable resource, especially for entrepreneurs who come from a creative or business background more than the tech side. And I think it really can help those that have that identified need or on that technology side. So instead of spending months on trying to find the right team and build out a platform, you can tap into a resource like Gaper, and they can offer an all-encompassing solution, right, to build out your development side. And had I known this earlier, I think it would have been really valuable for me as well. So I will continue to look for ways that I can work with Gaper and have Gaper do the heavy lifting and the vetting and the burden of searching for the right candidate, and saving so much time that goes, that companies need put into. So,
well, especially now, because hiring people now is hard because you can't meet them in person, or it's very hard to meet them in person.
Right. So if you don't have a warm connection, it feels kind of, you're not quite, you don't feel that confidence. But with a company like Gaper in the in between, it really is a one-stop solution for founders who know exactly the type of talent that they need but can't find, and it's the right place to go. So
You mentioned
yeah.
you have people in Southeast Asia. Is that where you do development out of?
Well, out of the East Coast actually, but they have, yeah, there's a couple of our junior team members are out of, yes,
Hmm.
Southeast Asia. Mm-hmm.
And what city in the East Coast is, what can you give a city a plug?
Sure. Or state, New Jersey.
Ah,
Yeah.
that's where I was born, and that's where my mother
Oh,
lives.
really? Wow.
My mother
Well,
lives in New Jersey, so state near and dear to my heart.
wonderful.
Yeah, she's in Cherry Hill, if you know where Cherry Hill is. I shouldn't say.
Yeah, I don't know the state too well, but
Okay. Well, your developers are probably out of northern New Jersey. She's out down south, outside of Philadelphia.
okay. Wow. I do. Oh, okay. I think I kind of we spent some time there taking the kids to like a wonderful aquarium and museum. They're kind of all in that right near that Philly border.
Yeah, no, she's not too.
Yeah.
Yes, and I was born in Cape May, the very southern tip.
Oh, wow.
Many years ago. So, well, Candice, it's been wonderful talking to you. I think you have a great idea, and I do think you have it at the right time. So I wish you well, and I want to thank you for for spending time with us this morning.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Mark. It was a pleasure speaking with you.
Thanks. Have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.